We have 120 cities in the United States that are now over 200,000 people. That means we should have 120 very prolific women in real estate leading in those cities.
Hello and welcome to episode 54 of the Smart Agents Podcast. My name is Michael Walter and I'll be your host. In today's episode, we're joined by Kim Hayden. After a long and successful career in real estate herself, Kim has shifted her focus to helping the fantastic women in the industry find their voice and footing as highly respected thought leaders. Throughout our conversation, Kim shares how her Resilient book series is helping these women share their stories and inspire more women to gain the confidence to strive for greatness. Now, before we get on to the day's featured interview, make sure to subscribe to the Smart Agents Podcast. You can find the show on all major podcasting platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and the list goes on. Also, as you can see if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to the Smart Agents YouTube channel. Click the bell to get notifications when each new episode is uploaded. And lastly, if you or somebody else on your team has an awesome story or tip to share with our community, send us a message at feedback@smartagents.com. We're always on the lookout for new stories to share. All right, on to the day's featured interview with Kim Hayden. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope it helps inspire someone else to share their story as well. I've included links to both Kim's podcast and social media pages in the episode description. So yeah, really the way I like to start everything out is if you could just introduce yourself a little bit. Tell me who you are, where you're at, and how, kind of how you got into the real estate industry.
So, all righty. My name's Kim Hayden. I am a 22-year veteran of real estate. And I say veteran because sometimes it does feel a bit like a war zone. I went into real estate back in 99 because my husband, being the prophet he is, says, Kim, why don't you go into real estate? Looks easy. I'm going to have that put on a t-shirt. So needless to say, I go into real estate. I start real estate. I've done my 22 years. I've helped a lot of people, be it the homeowners, through staging and strategies, make extra money, more money, get their full money out of their house. And I've helped a lot of agents understand the necessity of the community real estate expert and taught them how to actually navigate and find the information on that. I'm currently transitioning from production in real estate to instruction in real estate, but more so working with women who have incredible knowledge, who are our leaders and need to be heard, but getting them over that hump of how to be in front of a camera, how to deliver a speech, how to write a book, how to basically do the things that maybe are not in their comfort zone, and help them transition so their production to instruction timeline is shortened and it's still profitable, because that's the hardest thing, is leaving behind all the awards in real estate, because you get really good and you get all these awards and you're making tons of money and all of a sudden now we're going to start something new and it's scary. So that's what I do, is I take a handful of women at a time, and we literally go through the entire authority builder, through authorship, through speaking, getting them stage time and getting them comfortable and confident within their next phase of real estate.
Right. So really, what was it that led you to wanting to do that? Because like you said, there are a ton of incredible women that are leading their teams to great heights. I talk to them all the time, and they really should be the people that are out there that people are seeing as the coaches and who to learn from.
Absolutely. As we know, National Association of Realtors, NAR, put up their stats, and their stats are 64% are female. Yeah. When we look at the top coaches, the people who are making the money for their insight and expertise, they're predominantly male. And don't get me wrong, I want to be very clear. I got to say this right up front. I am the mother of 3 children, 2 of which are beautiful 6 foot tall, 6'4" redheaded boys. And I've been married for almost 27 years this October. And so I'm not a man hater. However, as a mother of a 20-year-old daughter, I also know the challenges I've faced. So challenges around asking for the money, being confident within my success, being unashamed to say or share or speak about that success. You know, a man will go and get a loan from a bank. These are actual facts. Men, they'll get an idea for a business. They start talking about it, they get excited, and then they're like, "Ah, I'm going to go to the bank, or I'm going to get a loan, or I'm going to get all these people." And women like, okay, I've got to make sure it works. And then I've got to cross on my T's and dot on my I's. I want to be the person that helps get them excited and confident.
Right. So, yeah, and a lot of this does come down to that confidence and being able to just get started. So
exactly.
For you, I mean, but you had to do that also. So what did that,
yes.
So how did you get over that?
You know what? And I still have my days where I'm not confident. It's still scary because I'm transitioning from being one of the top in my market and making the high six figures consistently. And now it's like I'm scrambling to figure out and cover costs. So it was about 6 years ago, because I'm an American living in Canada. They find me unique. I'm a little boisterous. My passion has always been people. Real estate to me was never about the house. It was always about the human being within the home. And so it's about 7 years ago, 2014, I was offered a front of camera position at Shaw TV as a host for a show called Kim's Kitchen. And this basically was a show where I was in a kitchen, but I would have chefs come in, or I would make a dish, and then I would interview a local authority, always a woman, most likely a woman. And then we would do a DIY because I believe in stretching the dollar. I'm the eldest of 4 girls that lived in a 700 square foot basement apartment, 4 blocks away from an area that they took to the ground because it's basically the slums in Wichita, Kansas. Grew up very poor. And so, I've always been very creative and crafty in how to make things last. I mean, nobody can make a tuna casserole last 5 days. It's like Jesus and the fish, man, walking around. That is me. I'll just make it happen. Yeah. But it's always about the people. And you know what? I went down a path with the fish, and now I can't remember even what the question is. But
yeah, we were just talking about how you got that confidence that you're now teaching other people.
Okay, so just did television. Then I started doing red carpets, and I got the opportunity to really interview some incredible people, like Elizabeth Vargas, who is a journalist and an incredible news anchor, and she's now on A&E. And to be gifted that opportunity of 8 minutes FaceTime with her and asking her some information, I knew that I needed to take that next level, and I need to teach other people how to ask, how to inquire, how to share, how to engage, because we have 120 cities in the United States that are now over 200,000 people. That means we should have 120 very prolific women in real estate leading in those cities. And that's not on the top list of coaches. So that's really what got me thinking is, so why am I moving in this direction? And yet in real estate, I see so many women who are getting phased out due to technology or due to age, or they're just tired because it's a challenging business because you're dealing with people's lives, right? Yeah. For residential real estate. And that just kind of got me thinking. It's like, well, what if we took what I'm doing with television, and interviewing our leaders within the city, sitting down with the mayor, sitting down with our economic development panel, getting this information. What if I took that and I transitioned all that experience and to teach women in these 120 cities? There's actually 320 that are over 100,000. But I taught all these women how to become the face of their communities, of the agents, of the people who need to stand up and speak up. So that's really how it all came together. I love helping people, and I just think we need to have more women. And I'm not unique. I'm not unique. There are tons of women just like me. They haven't had the opportunities that I've had, and I want to give them those opportunities.
Right. So when you are finding these women, and then once you actually get to talk to them, and I mean, what's it like when they start to kind of break out of that shell a little bit to where they are, embracing that role as the teacher, and what's that transformation been like for some of these people?
I think the first thing is I always get them into a multi-author book. I want them to get that published author credit underneath them, because authorship builds authority. These are still facts. You can blog till the cows come home. You can make a video for YouTube any day of the week. However, broadcast television and published author are still a marker of expertise, of authority. So getting them to start understanding, their who, their what, their why, their how. A lot of us, like myself personally, I went and I just did real estate. It was organic. Mm-hmm. I never documented it. Going back and now documenting it has been a huge challenge. So getting them to do this while they're still in their production years, I want you to identify, what is the script you used with that client? Or how did you do this? Or how did you do that? Because we see a lot of coaches, but not every coach is for every person. So by creating a stage, a platform that has 100 women with 100 different stories, I guarantee you, you give me 10,000 women and 10,000 women will identify with that 100 women. They will not identify with a single woman.
Yeah,
they will not. So we have to provide all the opportunities and voices out there, and that kind of megaphone, that opportunity, that microphone to get a little bit louder.
Right. And so you talk about the multi-author book, and that's something that you've done. So tell me a little bit about that and what you're doing for these women.
So the Resilient series is what we kind of fly underneath. So what we do with our multi-author book is it's basically a 25-step process. So first off, we work with a publishing house out of the UK that specializes globally in these types of books. So this is not me sitting and editing your book and loading it into Amazon. We actually we work with a publishing house. The reason I do that is they do all the plagiarism runs, they do all the legal checks, and they know what they're doing. 150 books that are in multi-author business books. They know what they're doing. So we work with them on doing we do a 5-day writing challenge for anywhere between, our authors are allowed anywhere between 1,500 and 2,500 plus their bio and such. And then we're able to take pieces, their who, their what, their why, all these pillars. So that creates this incredible story. I think chicken soup for the soul. Mm-hmm. These are the stories of the women who have had to go into their couch to find the change, to fuel their vehicle, put their baby on their hip, and go show a house. These are women who, inside 10 years, have gone from being divorcees, left with children with no, $200 a month child support. We all know that doesn't go far. That have been able to build personal wealth.
Yeah.
So it's their stories, because stories inspire. And there's going to be another woman out there who is going to be in the exact same situation. And she's going to read that and she goes, there's options and opportunities for me.
Yeah.
And that's what we really want.
Yeah. And, with my background in journalism, I talk to people every single day. And that was one of those things that I learned pretty quickly was, the story that I was there to talk to them about is just such a small part of who they are. There's so many different layers to people, and everybody's been through something that somebody else can relate to. And, by doing that, I think you are inspiring so many different people by being they can see those little bits and pieces of the story that kind of, when you put it all together, you say, oh yeah, I'm right there too. I can do this as well.
Absolutely. And I have to say, I commend, I believe journalists are front line. The stories are individuals' perceptions, but journalism is such that. It's an industry that fascinates me because it's just, yeah. I have to, yeah. I was so excited to meet you because an Emmy's not an easy thing, and not everybody. It's not like getting a Cracker Jack box. It's an actual. It's awesome.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. So in when you're able to get these stories out there for these women, when they see them, when they start going through this process and they start putting their story together, what does that do for them when they see, oh, I do have this great story to tell. I have come through all this, because it's not just the people that are reading it, but it's also the writer that it's got to be helping.
Absolutely. So, our first step is to help them get their story out. Then we provide all the front of funnel assets that they can utilize to leverage their story within their local markets so they can find other like-minded people, the next generation. So I'm 52. My goal is to find all the 35-year-olds to 42-year-olds that are looking at, this is where I want to go. I want to be doing what you're doing when I'm 48. And, it's guiding them. So they read the story, they get inspired, they realize that they're a leader in themselves. They're a leader within their markets, because it's not like we walked on the moon or we invented some, mechanism that changed the world. We are the pillars of the community, and we create the change on a local level, which guides people and children and the humane interaction that grows a community. So when we take these authors, we not only are putting them as published, what we're doing is we're supporting them through an entire series of, being able to get the message out, having front of funnel product, getting them set up. So if they want to communicate via a podcast, helping them get all that set up. So it literally is it's a 6-month process. It only takes to write 2,000 words a week. But the entire process to get their heads in the space from production is very reactionary within their market, to instruction that is very proactive. So we have to, it's like writing a story, or it's like creating a film script. So I've produced reality television here in Calgary, and every shot, every piece of copy has a purpose for it. It goes in a sequence. So that's what we do at the Resilience series, because our goal is to have a 7-book series that we start with real estate, because this is what I know. I've done it for 22 years. I can do it probably with my eyes closed or in my sleep. And I think I do it in my sleep. I know I process a lot of my deals in my sleep. But we take that and we go from book 1, Resilient Real Estate Women, book 2, Resilient Real Estate Women, going into Resilient Real Estate investors, right? And as we progress, we'll be going into women in business and leadership, mompreneur, with our final book being a full nonprofit book. So 100% proceeds, the authors, everything 100% will be geared towards women who have come through trauma. Because we know that when I look at these women in these books, so we're going now back to the first book. Why is talking about the trauma important? Because a lot of these women, they get that 80% success, and then they let themselves stop. They hold back because they're afraid of the next level. And it's not because they don't have the intellect or the ability to pull it off. It's because there's something within their past that literally blocks them and stops them from pushing to the next level, be it survivor's guilt, be it a fear of money. Like myself, I've gone through this huge fear of money. Even when I made $1.3 million in 2007, like in 1 year, just myself and my husband, that's a lot of money in a market where the average house price was $480,000. And I have to say, I have to be very clear, we do not have a standardized commission. So, but our commission rate, my husband and I, 7% on the first 100,000 and 3% on the balance. So at 480, we're actually operating. We've always operated about a 4% commission that is split 50-50. So we're actually the lowest paid real estate agent. unless you're actually comparing dollars to dollars and we're going to like Columbus, Ohio, or something. But when you look at it, dollars for dollars, Alberta actually has the most cost effective. If you're looking to buy or sell, it's the most cost effective place to do it. We also don't have land transfer tax here, so that helps also.
Right.
But I totally went off. You have to keep reeling me back in.
No,
Michael just
fine.
like, oh my God, there she goes. Just reel me in.
No, you're fine. With the, and I think, and I understand this whole idea of, when you are progressing and there is that fear of, I think there also is sometimes that fear of, I'm doing okay now. Do I want to rock that boat and leave behind my comfort that I have now? And I think that can be a very scary thing.
And good is the enemy of great. It absolutely is. I have done really good in my career, and I have a lot of amazing stories. But there's still an opportunity for great. There's still an opportunity. I myself, so to give you a little bit of background on myself, and I'm getting more comfortable with my story at 52. A lot of us have to go back in. I kind of always refer to my life as like a house. A person is a house, right? But a house has a foundation, and our foundation we don't really have control over. That's what our parents or our circumstances give us. And I was built on a very, very shady foundation. So I have to go back down there all the time, and I'm shoring up this, or I'm learning that, or fixing a leak somewhere. But I myself have only in the last probably 5 years become very, very focused on finding the women who need the support to go next level, and not be afraid of the women who get a little hostile. Because let me tell you, there are some women who get really hostile because they're afraid of competition, because we've been told there's only room for 6 of you on the stage. We're going to have 19 people and only 3 of you will be female. So when we look at that, instead of trying to push a guy off the stage, we push the other girls off the stage. So we work in the silohood versus sisterhood. And I know for a fact right now, there will be a woman listening to this podcast who has come through significant abuse, significant poverty, has been a single mom, has been homeless. I lived in my car for a short time. Has been afraid of her own story, or still cries when she shares it. When she chooses to share it, will have a limited number of people who knows her entire story, and still is carrying shame around it. And yet she's a damn good real estate agent. I want that woman who hears this today know that she has the capability of generating millions of dollars, creating change within her community, and having the life she deserves.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things you just said there a few minutes ago was talking about how, there's 19 people on the stage, and to get on it, we have to replace somebody. Why not make the stage bigger? Right? Like, just make it more inclusive, bring in more people. And I think is kind of going on in the industry. I talk to a lot of people, and I feel like I'm starting to hear more stories of people working together in teaming up, and it's not this me against you type thing. And I think that can help also work in this coaching realm also.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I tell people reason, season, and a lifetime. Reason and season, and a lifetime. I will love my children for a lifetime. My season is, I did over 2 decades servicing my community through what I knew how to do. And my reason today is to come in and help people. So when we look at things, collaborating is where the voice is. I cannot compete with Google ad spend. I cannot compete with Tony Robbins. I cannot compete with Grant Cardone. Their ad spend is huge. However, I get 20 voices together that has a reach through their social media of 500,000, that these people actually have faith in them. They actually know who this person is. It's not just some random ad going on. That's power. The voice is the power. The connection and the community is the power. I absolutely agree with you.
Right. For people that are listening to this that want to get involved with what you're doing, how can they get involved with you? How can they find you to kind of start this journey for themselves?
Absolutely. Resilience Series, right now we're running underneath resilienceseries.club because I've abandoned my WordPress site. I will be putting up a new site once I know exactly who I'm going to be doing it with, because trust me, I'm not doing it myself. So resilienceseries.club is my home at this point in time virtually. Kim Hayden at shaw.ca is always going to be my email. I've had it for 20 years. I'll have it for another 20. And then podcast is Kim Talks. Just Google anything Kim Talks, Kim Talks Real Estate, Kim Talks Resilience. Those are my podcasts. And you know what? I'm easy to reach out to. So, I'm looking for women who know they have a story within them. So 82%, I love the stat. You'll know the stat. 82% of North Americans will say that they have a story within them or a book within them where they've started a book, yet 2% get published. And it's not because somebody isn't being consistent or isn't, smart or isn't being true to their story or anything like that. It's difficult. Writing a book, writing stories, and getting clear, identified messaging out. It's not easy, especially when this topic is you. And it's easy to endorse somebody else's brand. But when you are the brand you're pitching and endorsing, it's a lot more challenging. And so you get a lot more selective on the words and you can get hung up. So that's I just found that 82 to 2. Have you heard that stat?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Crazy, eh?
And, you just talked about getting hung up on the words and things like that. I think sometimes people, they know that there's something, like everybody knows within them, like they have this great story to share. But because they are having a hard time to finding the words, they almost think that, oh, it's not significant enough, or, nobody's going to connect with it and things like that. And I think a lot of people kind of downplay how much of their story can affect somebody else's life that is in a similar situation.
Absolutely. If you're a person that is in a path of progression, you tend to surround yourself. We say we're the sum of the 5 that we surround ourselves with. So if there's not a dumb person in the room, you may be that person, and you may be looking at everybody going, wow, everybody's like this. But here's the reality. That's the 5 you're in the room with. There are tens of thousands out there that are looking for leadership, looking for somebody they can connect with. And, we have a challenge of this wealth gap happening in the United States. We have a challenge with our youth being overly burdened with university costs. We have so many things going on. And sometimes a 40-year-old or even a 35-year-old, I actually have a gal that's in my book that just turned 30 in my first book. This is a gal who is a military brat, never really had a home base, never had a sphere per se, failed her test, her real estate test 5 times, still kept going back. And within 5 years, she's now at top 1% in her back in Charleston. In 5 years, just hunkering down and creating a collaborative space and a common voice and being of service. She's doing over 50 transactions a year. And that's a lot because the average real estate agent in North America does 12. So she's over 4 times the average real estate agent. So that being said, what's her story? I mean, this is a gal who literally just fell in love with Charleston. She knew nobody. She had no family. She had no sphere. She failed her test repeatedly, but she just knew that this is something she wanted to do. And so Kat did it. So why shouldn't her story be shared and heard? Right? So those are what we're looking for. We look for women who really kind of beat all the odds and make things happen so they can inspire others.
Right. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. It's always great to kind of have a little bit of a different topic, on a podcast. And I think in this one is definitely one that I think a lot of people needed to hear, whether or not they're looking to be that leader, but know that they have that within them.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And we do need more leaders as we go. I'm going to leave this with you. And I believe we're going to, in the next 5 years, see kind of three things happen in real estate, because Zillow is entering in from a technology perspective and bringing in real estate agents. So technology is huge, right? That this is not going to go away. It's only going to become more and more. Then we're going to have the real estate agents that are on the ground level, that are your community representatives. These are the people who are engaged with your local. I think that we're going to see a lot of the franchises, the franchisees are going to really struggle because they themselves are being left up to try to figure out how to navigate the technology and compete with some of these technology companies that are coming online. So it's going to be, I believe that there is absolutely still room for the community expert agent, the local voice, and the voice of inspiration. But that's what she says. I could be completely wrong, but who knows? Who knows?
Well, I really do appreciate you taking the time to talk with me this morning.
Absolutely. You are lovely, Michael. Congratulations again at being a voice and being a leader of voices. That's awesome.
I want to thank Kim for joining us today. And I really hope more and more of the fantastic women in real estate are given their opportunity to be thought leaders in this industry. So once again, if you think you or somebody else on your team has an awesome story or tip to share with our community, send us a message at feedback@smartagents.com. Well, that wraps things up for this episode, but remember, follow the show wherever you listen to podcasts and make sure to subscribe to the Smart Agents YouTube channel. Again, I'm Michael Walter, and we'll see you on the next episode.